Welcome to Justice Watch with Attorney Zulu Ali. I am Attorney Zulu Ali with the Justice Watch crew, Rosa Nunez, Michael Bilal Clark, Dr. Kil Bashir, and Andrea Rodeman. This week, like every week, we'll be discussing critical legal and social justice issues that are impacting our communities. So we're going to be talking about, what's up? The Republican Party, they still rolling with you, boy?
63% of them are.
53%?
Yep.
I think it's probably could be higher than that. So I don't know, but so I guess I want to look at the Republican Party itself and kind of how the party is divided. Obviously, is divided between what we consider to be the conservative wing of the party and the moderate wing of the party.
Mm-hmm.
And within the conservative wing of the party, primarily what you have is typically there's a couple of subgroups, but the primary groups that come to mind, obviously, is the Christian conservatives.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have the libertarians. And then, we go into what I call the neoconservatives. So basically the Christian conservatives, obviously, this is an issue about, they're usually social conservatives. They're more focused on the issue of, abortion rights, prayer in schools, just different things like that. Then we have the libertarians who are more focused on just basically less government.
Mm-hmm.
The whole idea of cutting taxes, that sort of thing. And then you have, what we call the neoconservatives, and obviously the neoconservatives are individuals that are primarily focused on global domination, pushing this whole global, democracy and focusing on making sure that we're, strong military wise, that always, the first person that comes to my mind when I think of neoconservatives is Dick Cheney, Donald Rumsfeld, those sort of dudes who, were really much on pushing, that whole, agenda. So, and out of the party, the statistics say that 73% of the Republicans fall under what is considered, the conservative wing of the party, right? As opposed to the moderate wing. And the moderate wing basically are those who are basically more concerned about fiscal conservative, but they're more moderate when it comes to social issues, right? So there we go. So now the question is that why was the Republican Party was and still in love with Donald Trump, right? That's the question. You laughing, Joe? There's some love there, man. There's some serious love. So I think that what happens is there is, let's just say on one argument, there's individuals. I was talking to someone today that said, hey, I think the thing that they like about Donald Trump is the fact that Donald Trump is like not your traditional politician. They like the fact that he is not a politician. I disagree. I think he is the consummate politician, and this is why. I think that we are led to believe that politics and the fundamentals of marketing politics and the fundamentals of marketing traditional business are not the same. I think they are. I think the same type of marketing plan that you have in order to be a successful politician, if you're going to be a really good, successful politician, is very much the same way that you have as far as marketing a business. Mm-hmm. Because, they always say that there's 4 P's to a marketing plan, right? And what are they? Let's talk about it. What's the first one? Product, right? Mm-hmm. Price. Am I right about that? Place and promotion, right? So if you're looking at that issue, right? Right product for your target market. Now, let's just really put it out there. What is the product? What is really the issue? People say it's racism. People say it's this. People say it's that. There's a million different things that people say that really drives those individuals in that party. But really, in the final analysis, it's about a culture war. America was and is engulfed in this serious culture war. That's what people were concerned about. Culture war. I mean, you know, you did have prior presidents and prior politicians that kind of, you know, they were sticking to certain points, like sticking to, you know, taxes, or sticking to the economy, or sticking to our military, or sticking to this, or sticking to that. But in the final analysis, what it really boils down to is that America is really into this culture war. So realizing that which is important. I mean, there are individuals in this country that are prepared to kill you over culture. Culture means something to these people, and sometimes we miss the boat. We don't understand it. But he said something. What is he selling? What was his product? MAGA, Make America Great Again. That's not a campaign. That's a product. That's what I'm selling you. That's the service that I'm selling you. I'm selling you, you're talking about this culture war. I'm going to bring back that culture. I'm the guy that's going to do it. Right? So if you get what you want, does it matter who brings it to you? If you need water and you're starving and you got to have something to drink and you're thirsty and you can't drink anything, do you really care who brings you the water if you're thirsty? Do you really care who brings you the food if you're hungry? You don't care. You need that food and you need that water. And for certain individuals in this country, culture is more important than food or water. That is the basic foundation of America at its finest. Culture means something. It means something. They will kill you over that Confederate flag. Kill you over that Confederate flag. These things mean something to these people because it symbolizes something that's at the bare essence of who they really are. If they lose their culture, they lose who they are and they lose everything. They would rather lose everything they have before they lose their culture. We're different. We rather have everything than our culture, right? That's am I wrong? When it comes to some of us in our community, culture, to them, culture means everything. And that red hat with that MAGA on it, Make America Great Again, that was his product.
Yeah.
That was what he was selling. And he mastered it. He said, if I can find something that these people want, I can sell it to them. I know how to do that. That's what campaigning is. Who are you? Who's got the service? What are you selling? Politicians are salesmen. They're business people. It's called a political campaign. Just like a marketing campaign and a political campaign, they're the same thing. They're not different. They're selling you something. They're trying to, your greenback, what you're paying for the service is your vote. That's the product. They have the product, the service, you're paying for it, right? That was what he had. America is engulfed in a serious, serious, serious culture war. Now, the question is, how are you going to combat that? He's the guy that's going to bring them the one thing that means more to them than anything. It means more to them than your rights, and my rights, and you too, Joe. It means more than anything. That's important. And they're willing to buy it. It's like their lifeblood, right? So while we're sitting around talking about these code words, they're not really concerned about. I mean, all these things are cold words. I mean, there was, we're playing traditional politics when we're talking about certain issues, right? I mean, we really believe that it's about the issues. It's really, for them, it's not really about the issues. It is about their culture, that flag, that Confederate flag, that Nazi flag. I mean, it's all symbolism. It means something to these people. It means something. And he is the guy who's going to give it to them. And nobody is going to give it to him the way he's going to. People say, well, conservatives, he's the most unchristian person I've ever seen in my life. What is he talking about? Why the evangelicals are so supportive of him? Why are fiscally conservative? I mean, he done ran so many companies into the ground. Why are they supporting him? Because it's deeper than that. It's something you can't see. It's something that you can't feel. It's something that you can't really explain. It's culture. And when they talk about that, they mean that. Believe it. But at any rate, please do not touch that dial. We'll continue on the other side of the break with Justice Watch.
So I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
Make America great again.
Mm-hmm.
At what point was it great? To the extent.
Well, that's the point. It was great.
Yeah.
That's what he's selling. What he's selling is he's selling the fact that it was great to these individuals. That's what he's selling.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it may not be what we want to buy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't want a Yugo, but somebody might.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is he alluding back to the time of slavery?
Of course, yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I think that I want to be that explained to the audience in that sense.
Well, then why don't you ask me on the air?
Okay, I am. I am. I'm gonna get to that point.
No, go ahead. I'm just joking.
I think he's
Yeah.
Joking with you.
going off on that comment. I think he's also selling on the fear of these individuals of being the extinct race. You talk about research saying by that 2050, these individuals will no longer be the majority in this country. That's a fear that he's played into.
Yeah.
And he's been successful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all kind of, that's where it's
But
coming.
But also I want to speak to the fact that he's bringing people out of the closet that had been sitting in the closet so long that didn't have the voice to come forward to speak. They always been there. It was just that he had that platform, and now he has that voice to say what he wants. He says stuff that the typical president would never say at all. So he was unique in that sense that he said some things that no president had ever said, and that was enough to get these people that have been laying in the closet for so long to bring them out of the closet. So.
I have a theory on the Trump thing. I think they're just people that think he's going to make sure that nobody messes with their rights and their guns and their money and their everything, way of life.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. It's true. Don't lose that question, man.
No.
And Rosa, what you just said, don't lose that.
Yeah.
See, my reaction was just as entertaining as the question, wasn't it? Can I do that again?
Oh, yeah.
Welcome back to Justice Watch with Attorney Zulu Wali and the Justice Watch crew, where we're continuing with our discussion about former President Donald Trump and why is there such a huge support for him. And before we went to the break, we were talking about, just briefly, we talked about the fact that there was this idea that he has this attraction because he's not, a politician, he's a business guy. However, I disagree by saying that, he is the consummate politician because he knows how to sell his product.
Mhm.
And the product that we talked about him selling was the culture war, the culture, make America great again. Something that we talked about was the lifeblood of many people in this country, or the majority of the individuals in this country. I guess I could almost say, because that's huge,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
So, but I had a question.
right.
Okay, so here's the thing, and I've been thinking about this for a while in terms of make America great again,
Mhm.
just that whole saying alone.
Hmm.
In terms of at what point is he referring to make it great again? At what point was it great? I mean, for African Americans, in terms of us,
Mhm.
there's some that say, well, okay, it's great for us now because we come through slavery and we come through all of these different elements that we have these certain freedoms now that we never had. But then there's those who said we don't have them. It's just hidden. But for Trump to make that statement, at what point can he take it back that he wants it to be great again?
It was great again. It was great before we had our rights. I mean, that's the whole point. I mean, I think that when he's talking about making America great again, he's going back to the point in time in society. Look, there is, no matter what people want to tell you, there is a belief that this is a country that was founded and built by European Americans that were brought to this country, or not brought to this country, came to this country, right? They colonized this country. That's their belief. That was what it was made for. Now, if that's at the essence of it. That is when this was such a great country. So the fact is that the rights of the African Americans, this whole, civil rights movement, this whole immigrant situation, all of this is doing nothing but destroying the culture of America. This was a destruction of the culture of America. And to add accident to injury, you happen to put a black man in the White House.
Mhm.
That's even worse. Now, I know there's conspiracy theorists out there that said he was chosen. There's conspiracy theorists out there that says he basically did nothing for black people. But I will say this, although we may not believe that symbolism doesn't mean much, symbolism means
Mhm.
everything to these people.
Yeah.
And the whole idea, the seeing that, ate people up. And that's where we're talking about. And then this is the thing, is that many people, I've spoken to many people who, are saying that, everybody that supports Trump are not racist. Everybody that says I want Trump to be president of the United States or was his, was riding with him, are they, would that be a correct statement?
That they're not racist?
Yeah, that everybody that supported that Trump not all of them are racist.
I mean,
Huh?
you would have to have his
Well-
same way of thinking in order to have that trust and that belief in him. So I wouldn't see how that statement would be true.
Do you think everybody supports
I mean, I
Trump?
think there's different types of, like we talked about, different types of Republicans in itself.
Mhm.
There was some that were drawn because of the entire fact that, he was going to fight for anti-abortion policy and fight for very conservationist policies.
Mhm.
I don't see how a lot of these individuals really thought about the platform of racism that he himself was championing and pioneering in a way. Well, not pioneering, but championing. So I'm not sure that all of them are racist. What I do know is that a lot of the individuals are driven by emotions in this campaign. A lot of them, are very moved by the words that he speaks and the way that he carries himself. And because of that, they were drawn into his campaign.
When you think of and going back to that whole thing when he says "Make America Great Again," for some of us because for some of us because we live this whole issue of racism on a daily basis, and we see it all the time. Some people, we're consumed by it because it consumes our lives.
Yeah.
For many of those people, and I'm being devil's advocate. Let me put that out there. I'm being devil's advocate. For many of those people, they are not consumed with those things. Those are not things that they wake up with in the morning, nor those things that they go to bed with at night. And the idea that they felt like that America was changing, for the worse, whether they believe it or say it or not, whether it's overt, covert, and then even unintentional, race is really at the essence of all of it. And the reason why is because what else could it be? What is different? I mean, clearly there's other things. I mean, whether you're talking about, the millennials, the attitude of the millennials, the work ethic, what we perceive to be a morally crashing society that has normalized so many things in our country, and oftentimes talking about, it's almost like people believe that being moral, you almost have to be embarrassed by it, and you're being attacked by what you believe in morally. Like, for example, when you're talking about your values about marriage, your values about, that you're against same-sex marriage, or your values when it comes to, different issues and about the things that, whatever it is, they believe that, we're entering a time period where you're just being attacked. You cannot, you have to be, if you're not a liberal, then you're being attacked, right? That's, I'm assuming that's part of the argument. And so that's one thing. Trump is a different thing. And we were in a mad dash of going that way. There is a mad dash of a society that no matter what political spectrum you're on, keeping in mind, African Americans many of them are socially conservative on issues other than race. When it comes to, the churches, the synagogue, the mosque, African Americans are going to be rolling with that. So the issue is that, I don't want my son to see that. Where are we going? Why are they showing that? Why they got us wearing that kind of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they're saying that basically because there's this, that to some people, that's the culture war.
Yeah.
That you're now you're embarrassed about God. You can't, if you say something about it, then, you're going to get in trouble. If you say certain, you can't say nothing now, because if you say anything now, then basically it's politically incorrect. You know what I'm saying? I mean, all of that is going down right now. So, so the question is, are at least from that perspective, do they have a point? Don't be scared. Talk to
I
me.
never heard it explained like that. I mean, because there are certain things that we can't take away from it that we stand on within ourselves, as far as like what we don't agree with, or that we agree with them with. However, I still don't think that what he's selling in terms of that the whole concept of Make America Great Again, I don't think that that's something, if you buy into that, I think you become just as involved. I mean, you buy in the product in so many words.
Is that really the trade-off? The real trade-off is, if I go down this road where they believe that there's an issue of, we're becoming an immoral society. Everything goes, and it's okay to be immoral, but it's not to be moral. Devil's advocate, I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying there's that belief.
Yeah.
Huh? All right, we're going to talk about that. But anyway, please do not touch that dial. We'll be back on the other side with Justice Watch.
To that, I feel like we are so polarized as a country that it's really hard to pinpoint if it's really that hot and cold kind of way of seeing it.
Yeah.
I think in an aspect, it's definitely morality to some people. To other people, it's definitely the guns, hunting, and fishing.
Yeah.
Who sent me that? That's bullshit. What the? That's not true. Who said that?
What happened?
I'm trying to say my arms are ash.
Oh my
I'm still on Facebook,
God!
man.
Really?
I'm still on Facebook.
Oh my God.
Man, y'all ain't right. I'm gonna get somebody's ass when I get back. You see that?
Look, I didn't even think of
Huh?
Oh my God. Oh,
You see that?
Did you see the homely class?
Man, y'all ain't right, man.
Yeah, you're right.
I feel like having a fight.
Oh,
I feel like having a fight right
he got me wanting to tuck my hands under the table.
now. I know it. I think it's the lighting.
Yeah.
I didn't think they were that observative. What is going on?
No, I think it's the lighting.
Oh man.
Yeah. No, yeah, definitely.
Oh man.
That's messed up, man.
That's
That's messed up.
somebody said
That
that.
threw me off.
Don't go.
I was not trying to say anything. I was just moving on.
Oh my God.
Oh shoot. Oh my God. So what was the other?
Some people giving mad faces, huh?
Yeah, there's people that are like, we support him. Giving their support. Somebody's like, he was unique, the only president to have over 500,000 Americans die when he did that.
So what are you doing, guys? And they're laughing. They're laughing.
What are you doing?
All right.
Welcome back to Justice Watch with Attorney Zulu Wali and the Justice Watch crew. Where we're continuing with our discussion about, why there still continues to be this support for former President Donald Trump. And we haven't even talked about could he come back again. But just to kind of piggyback it before we and I guess you can chime in if you want to as far as what we've talked about so far. But I mean that's really the second element of a marketing plan is price. What is the price that that's something of value for the consumer? I mean, it's something of value to the consumer. So when you're talking about this whole issue of the culture wars, and we're seeing this decay of the culture, and so it's easy to sell because it's such a broad topic.
Yeah.
Where some may say the culture is about where we used to be treated better, where this used to be a situation where people knew their place.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And the white man ain't got any rights anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So that's how they're feeling. It's like they're more worried about what's happening. It's like I can get on television, I can tell you how I feel, and then I'm gonna be attacked. But they can get on television and do anything they want to and say anything they want to about white people. And I can't say nothing. I can't do what they do. If I say the N-word, then my career is destroyed. And they can say it whenever they want to. This is their mindset for some people, right? And so people got to a point where it's like, so what you're telling me is that I have to, walk, toe the line because of me. I got to be ashamed of who I am. And this is my country, and I got to be ashamed of who I am. That's what they're saying. That's what they're thinking in their head.
Mhm.
And so when you say culture war and you say make America great again, it was a brilliant marketing scheme because it hit a broad span of all these things, some of which obviously has to talk about the Confederate flag.
Yes, definitely.
Right? About what we just talked about, this is my country and they're taking it from me.
Yeah.
And some of the I don't think it's the leadership of the evangelicals, because you have people in the flock that seriously see that, hey, I can't believe what they're doing. Do you see what these young girls are doing? Do you see what these young boys are doing? Do you see what they're listening to? Do you see our culture? I mean, our the decay in our morality. Nobody has morality. You see how these kids talk to their parents? Do you see these kids going around shooting everybody? Do you see all this is going? This is a result of a society in decay. This is, was it Sodom and Gomorrah? Sodom and Gomorrah.
Mhm.
This is what we're doing. This is where we are. And then some people, that's what, so it hits that span. And you preach it, it makes sense. Because you say, hey, look at the moral, because you know what I'm saying? I'm how many of people in my generation, black, white, and otherwise, talk about, hey, look what's going on in society. Look at these kids. They disrespectful. Look at what they show on television. They'll show anything on television. I won't even let my kids look at television. I mean, you hear that. And so it brings people into this whole thing that people are so, emotionally engaged in this situation that they riding with this dude, but not really taking a really good look at, the collateral effect. For some people, like I said, there's a large number of them that are just straight out racist. That just say, hey, this is about, them I ain't gonna let them come over here and take my land. So he figured it out. And all you gotta do is you gotta do one thing, is ride with me. If you ride with me, I'm gonna make America. And so the more we got onto him, the more they loved him. Because that make it seem like it's working. You know what I'm saying? He's not embarrassed by it because that's what he's running on. So he had no incentive to say, I'm not racist. This ain't about race. Why would he say that? Because that's not what they paid for, right? You can't, your vote ain't going to get me in office. They're going to get me there. In fact, they're going to go and burn down. They're going to run into the Capitol and roll with me. That's how I got them. Have you ever seen anything like that in your lifetime?
Never.
No.
Huh?
He really knows how to capitalize on the fear of these individuals. The fear of white supremacists, and then not being a major race per se in 2050. The fear of some conservatives and of the way society is being ran by quote unquote immorality. The fear of these individuals who are middle class or low class white Americans who have not found a job, and look at these immigrants, they're coming over and taking their jobs. He really was instrumental in implementing an agenda that capitalized on this fear of these individuals, and that's what really made such an emotional connection, built such a strong emotional connection between him and those that followed him, to the point that they were so emotionally invested that at the end of the day, we're taking over the Capitol. Because what do you mean these immigrants are going to take my jobs? What do you mean these people will take over this country and biracial marriage will continue in this country? What do you mean that the economy will suffer? It's all of this fear and all of these emotions that he brought out of people that up until this day, 53% of them continue to fight for him to be in office.
And some of them still think he won.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we talk about the laws that have been implemented. There has been over 22 new bills, right, throughout the country that restrict access to the vote, according to figures compiled by the Brennan Center for Justice. We talk about the state of Georgia, right? We know that the Secretary of State was instrumental in not allowing Trump to, recount the votes and buy Georgia per se. So they implemented a policy that basically says that come 2024, the Secretary of State has lost his role on the state election board.
Mhm.
What does that mean? This is not the only state where these policies have been passed.
Mhm.
Wow. Yeah. And that's another thing that he actually capitalized on at the beginning of his candidacy in terms of promoting himself with the MAGA, in terms of promoting himself, with Make America Great Again, was the building of the wall. And like I say, the fear of putting the fear in people that these individuals are going to come over here and continue to take our jobs and stuff like that. And that played a role as well. But like I say, he was the only president that came forward and said a lot of things that you wouldn't typically hear a president say. But it also brought a lot of individuals out of the closet who had been lying dormant for all these years that wanted to say it and didn't have a platform to say it. So now he draws them out. And now that he draws them out, they figure that he's the go-to man. He's the big man. He's our leader. He's our champion. And you're going to continue to see that number. And I'm going to tell you, with the new president now that we have in office, if he continues to go down the line that he's going down right now in terms of not adhering to those individuals who put him in office, I can guarantee you that if Trump decides to run again, I wouldn't be surprised that we might see him again.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I mean, now we look, I mean, he's selling something nobody else has. I mean, he has a unique product.
Exactly.
He has a product that can't nobody sell. No other politician can do it. He just had the he was crazy enough to sell that product.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the reality of it is, we may see more politicians like him. I don't know. We probably will. But he was able to sell something. When you can sell something that nobody else has, then you own to something.
Mhm.
And especially as long as it's something that a lot of people want. Plan where the target audience is shopping for similar purchases. He knew where to go.
Yeah.
He knew he knew which states that he focused on.
Yes.
He wasn't really worried about some of these other states. He was able to, because he knew that that was something that people really wanted.
Yes.
People was holding that in.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And and then you got other people, you trying to figure out why are people who are minorities supporting this guy? Are getting anything, but the reality is fine, I think. Yeah. But the reality of it is that some of the minorities fell for this whole thing about the moral thing.
Yes.
Because they're really into that. That's consumed. There's nothing more important than a person's spirituality. And if it's misguided and misdirected, it can be a very, very, potent and dangerous thing. What a person said, what people say in a pulpit,
yeah,
or what they could do and what they believe is right, as far as their spirituality is concerned, is it's dangerous. It can be really dangerous, and we really saw that, dealing with him. But, I know we're getting ready to push up against the break, but I guess the next thing we're going to talk about is, can he come back? Huh?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yes.
And when you're talking about if your boy don't get his stuff together,
Yeah.
There might be trouble in the camp.
Yeah.
At any rate, please do not touch that dial. We'll be back on the other side of the break with Justice Watch.
Yeah, I think at one point the internet was was just slow because it was like one bar.
Huh?
So that's why, I think at one point the internet was just slow, there was only one
Oh,
bar.
I see.
So that's why it kept.
Somebody said, "Oh, you make me nostalgic all again."
That's some shit. I can't believe y'all did that to me.
Powder, oh my God.
She says, "Daddy's arms are ashy." Yes, it's noticeable. Like you feeling baby powder. You're wrong, man. Man. I
Oh my God.
don't even believe that.
Oh my God. They at home watching right there. They cracking up. They cracking up.
I do not believe that.
Oh man. They straight sent home to Claire. Oh, man.
There's a thing here?
Yeah, it's on.
You said that we can't hear the commercial. You're on the air, we can't hear the commercial. Is the commercial coming in?
Yes,
Huh?
yes, it's a commercial.
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
You said that we can't hear the commercial.
It's coming on, I don't know why the commercial's on.
You're on the air, we can't hear the commercial.
I can make it after the commercial.
It's just one thing.
You said they cannot hear the commercial?
That's what they said.
They say the viewers.
Yeah, they can't hear.
The viewers are watching off of his camera, not mine, right?
Well, they can hear it on Facebook because I got
Can you hear it?
what's the name coming up right now? It is, wait, hold on, it went out. That one went out.
Yeah, this is live right
Mhm.
now. Hold on.
Is it on?
But now when you move that corner,
All right, welcome back to Justice Watch with Attorney Zulu Ali and the Justice Watch crew, where we're continuing with our discussion on the Trump situation. I guess I should say, why does the Republican Party overwhelmingly support Trump? They say still 53%, although he's not in office.
Mhm.
Now we've spent, the first part of, the majority of the show talking about why they support him. The next question is, can he come back?
I think it's not even a question of can he come back, it's when he's coming back.
mm,
Hmm.
yeah,
You shaking your head, Joe?
I think that if you put in the situation where he runs and he becomes that person, I think that 53% would actually increase because they have nowhere else to go.
If he becomes that person, I think that, okay, so obviously we know that Biden's going to run for another term because obviously he's the guy in office.
Yeah.
The problem, of course, is that, the question, okay, so let's look at this. As far as the economy is concerned, the numbers that Trump had surpasses Biden even now as we speak.
Yes.
However, when it comes to the pandemic, of course, Biden gets the kudos because obviously we're on the tail end of all of that. But there's so much more. And when I say that there's so much more, is that basically during his presidency, what we've seen is kind of like hush. You know, people aren't really, you don't hear people outraged at what, you know, it's not like it's gone. Everything is the same as it was before. It's just that we're not talking about it because he's kind of just kind of like, you know, keeping, you know, everybody happy. And it takes very little to make us happy. You know, I think that there is nothing in 4 years from now, are we going to be better off? And when I say we, I'm talking about African Americans and other marginalized communities. Are we going to be better off in 4 years, you know, during the election than we are now? Is it going to be like this big boom? Are we going to see a change in the criminal justice system? Are we going to see, you know, changes, you know, as far as our economic situation is concerned? I mean, I doubt it. I don't have any hope or belief because he's not really even addressing that issue.
No.
So, you know, we were just so interested in getting him out of office, but we were never really interested in the circumstances that put us in that situation. And the circumstances that put us in that situation it begins with, we are only unified when it comes to addressing a common enemy, but we're not unified when it comes to the progress.
Yeah.
We don't have that kind of unification. We don't come together as a people. Much of it is a result of, you know, obviously the history in the past, but you know, that's what I see. Do I think the guy can come back? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he can come back.
Yeah.
You ready?
And I think.
Are you ready?
Yeah, but see, I think also what it's going to come down to, like,
are you ready though?
Am I ready?
Yeah.
I'm getting ready. I'm getting ready because I know that there's a possibility. And the thing about it is, what Joe Biden is showing right now, I don't think anyone is seeing anything. I think it's going to come down to that final hour where he's going to step in and start doing things right before the election to kind of appease us and make it. And if we're gullible enough, then we'll possibly get that. He'll get that vote again. But I think as far as us as African Americans, we're going to go back into our Rolodex, and then we're going to remember all the stuff that he didn't really promise anything, but all the things that we assumed that he was going to do once he got into office for us by putting him there. And then what's going to ultimately happen is we're going to think about that old Ice Cube thing, bringing along that thing with Trump, and he was ready to kind of revisit that. There's going to be a lot of things that's going to come into play in that final hour. And I think that's when Joe Biden is going to step up. But as of right now, I don't think he's going to step up. He's not going to do anything. And that's what's going to make it real tough and real difficult. But ultimately, it can put him back in office in the long run.
Yeah, and I think he's in his honeymoon presidential state, and the excitement is not there. The momentum is not there. The promises that him and Kamala Harris made during their campaign are not there either. Nothing is there. It's simply another politician in a suit trying to, you know, cater to the elites and cater to the agenda that a few want to pervade in this country. And as far as Trump coming back, like I said, there's policies already that are coming into place in various states, that limit voters, that place more restrictions on election boards. This is a scary time. We're talking about a 2024 Trump that's coming back with 53% of support from the Republicans and a Democratic Party that is not united, that every single day grows more and more partisan.
That's true. What about, you know, we spent a lot of time talking about how the Republican Party was hoodwinking many of the common folk within the party, right? We said, well, he ain't really doing that for them. They're supporting the president, but he ain't doing nothing for poor people. He ain't doing nothing for poor white people. He's not doing nothing for poor people, period. He's the most ungodly person that there is. Why is the evangelicals are supporting him? The question is, are we being hoodwinked? Are we being hoodwinked by that party? Can someone look out and say, you know what? Look at those black folks in the Democratic Party. He got them hoodwinked. That man ain't did nothing for those folks. They still getting beat up by the police. They're still getting put under the jail with all these long sentences. They're still economically disadvantaged. They didn't get anything.
Mhm.
Are we not looking in a mirror? Are we being sold, snake oil, like they're being sold snake oil? Are we all? I'm being devil's advocate. Huh?
I believe we are.
I mean, so in other words, what we were getting on the Republican Party about and saying, are we really any better? Is the party really taking care of? We were saying, were they really taking care of those folks? Those people are so stupid because what is he doing for them? He don't really care about those folks. He says he does, but he really don't do, because what is he really doing for them? We need to ask those same questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't just, we have to stop, as a country, we have to get away from symbolism.
Mhm.
We have to really demand that people are giving you something and not just telling you something. It's okay to get on there and say, we as a country need to address systemic racism. On the screen, you say that. But then that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I'm the type of person that there's two things about me. One thing is I have no patience. God, I have no patience. I think everything needs to be done with it. If you're gonna do something, just do it. You need to give me a sense of urgency, right? And when you give me that sense of urgency, you need to be aggressive and you need to be consistent. I don't see that. I don't see him getting. The thing is that what are you waiting for?
Exactly.
What are you waiting for? You ain't waiting for nothing.
Yeah.
Woo. Anyway, thank you for tuning in for this edition of Justice Watch. We'll see you next week, same